The Vietnam War, or the War against America, is one of the most studied periods of history ever. But time and time again, as the history books are being written, the story of one people is always left out. The Vietnam struggle for national independence relied on the unique strength of women for success.
At Vietnam as a people's war, we can really see the impact of how women were able to make such an impact on the conflict.
We really believed in what we were fighting for.
Women haven't always had such opportunities for power. Back in the day, when China still held ultimate control in Vietnam, women were strictly confined to Confucian familial structures. Men controlled women's lives, keeping them in domesticity. Some semi-legendary woman warriors appeared in Vietnamese history. The Trung sisters led a successful uprising against the Chinese and ruled Vietnam for 3 years until the Chinese reinvaded. Later, Lady Trieu Thi Trinh led an uprising against the Chinese, but she was defeated, allegedly because Chinese armies found out her weakness for crudeness. Some early Vietnamese legal codes showed evidence of women having a role in their family's finances, but by the time of French colonization, women had virtually no power, and this political powerlessness continued under the French.
It wasn't until the early 20th century that women began to fight for genuine equality. Independence movements against the French cultivated ideas surrounding female independence. And as anti-French sentiment translated to Vietnam's liberation, because the French were so violently oppressive of women. Also, these early 20th century revolutionaries realized that women could hold a unique power in the movement, as they were not as suspicious in the eyes of the French.
At its formation in 1930, the Indo-Chinese Communist Party included women. Ho Chi Minh, Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, was a major supporter of women's liberation, particularly in association with communism.
If women are not free, then the people are not free.
Uncle Ho really supported the women's struggle. He saw what women had to offer and made more effort than any other prominent revolution leader to include us in the struggle for Vietnamese independence. I have always admired him for that.
The Women's Liberation Association, also known as the Women's Union, formed at the same time as the Indo-Chinese Communist Party and focused on the promotion of women's rights through communist and domestic education and providing medical care.
It was hard work, but we really believed in the cause we were fighting for. We truly hated those foreign powers coming in and controlling our land, our people. We were prepared to rightfully take back our land by any means necessary. A vision of a free, independent Vietnam was enough to keep us going.
With an estimated total of 840,000 female guerrilla fighters in North Vietnam and 140,000 in South Vietnam, women were integral to the success of the Vietnam War.
Women really did everything. Women constructed and protected the Ho Chi Minh Trail, set up ambushes at the enemies, engaged communities, and recruited people to the revolution. It really was a people's war, a people's revolution, which really allowed women to get to the action. Revolutionaries were fighting for a people like Vietnam, and as such, the method with which they used, they were able to realize that the vision involving all Vietnamese people, not only your stereotypical militant male revolutionaries.
Our job was to organize and really destroy as many Americans as we could with our meager resources.
Women were uniquely essential to the guerrilla warfare that defined much of the NLF's warfare method.
An example is Ta Thi Kieu. She took over an enemy's military post empty-handedly. She went into the post with members of the soldiers' families and organized a drinking party in there. When they got drunk, she snatched one of their guns, jumped on top of a bunker, and signaled the guerrillas hiding on the outside to come in and help her take over the post.
The young and the old also held a valuable role in ensuring the success of the NLF. Elderly women would fake insanity to gain access to US bases, and young women did their part as well. Through the youth brigade of the NLF, teenagers transported goods, set booby traps, and aided nurses.
When it became necessary for us to attack the Americans, these women would be the ones to place the bombs in the mines.
Women were crucial in the midst of the battlefield, but also behind the scenes. A major area of female expertise was recruitment. women were incredibly valuable propagandists, growing both national and international support for the NLF cause.
A unique asset of women revolutionaries is that women were really able to attract more rural women to the cause. They argued that freedom from capitalist, foreign influence rule meant freedom from sexist familial bonds as well, bringing the NLF's vision of increased familial opportunity to the greater public.
We gave each village in the province a gun, a real gun this time. We dressed our women as men and boys, making them think that we had a lot of fighters. Women wanted to join our cause out of anger at the loss of their children or husbands, anger at the war, and a deep Vietnamese national pride.
The world saw that these striking photos of women fighting for Vietnam, representing quite the opposite of the usual damsel in distress in the female narrative, and this fierce woman concept was highly attractive to international audiences that were already skeptical of the value of the Vietnam War.
The strength of the women of the NLF was more than just an image. The long-haired warriors were essential to the success of the NLF, demonstrating how this people's war was truly built on all Vietnamese people.